Hello and welcome back. This is segment 2 of our Kyushu Basho preview and discussion. Joining me, our man in foreign lands, Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Hello, Josh.
Very nice. And
Never
creator, very nice. And the creator of Tachiai, none other than Andy. Good evening to you, Andy.
Howdy, y'all.
Hey, so we're here to talk about and preview the tournament that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. The Banzuke just was released yesterday. This is Monday evening, the 1st of November here in the good old US of A. And this is the first tournament of the post-Hakuho era. I know that for years Tachiai has been banging on about the transition era, and it was all pretty much down to when was the last big figure, Hakuho, going to hit the exit, and he finally did. But what we're left with is a lone Yokozuna in Terunofuji who is going to probably be the only guy on top of the Banzuke for a while. But this is sort of the 10th era, I think, where there's only one Yokozuna. But let's talk about some of the people who are kind of, I think, interesting in this. I want to bring up Myogiryu, who had the Jun-yusho last time. He was sort of hot on the heels, and he got a pretty good lift up the Banzuke. Do we think that he just had a hot streak, or is he someone to watch? Andy, take it away.
Oh, I think of Myogiryu as kind of the Makuuchi division yo-yo. He started his career, I think he was a sports science university graduate, and I believe he either started in Makushita or actually I'm pretty sure that he started in Makushita, and he's always been basically up a sekitori, but when he has these flashes of brilliance, he would often get just pounded over the head by the guys at the top of the Banzuke, and I really hope that doesn't happen again this time. Yeah. But I'm not expecting. I'm expecting 4-11, not 11-4 again.
Yeah, Josh, do you think that Andy's on target with that one?
I do, sadly. Myogiryu, he's like a lot of veterans who, when they're ranked in the lower reaches of the division, tend to perform pretty well. He's obviously usually 34, 35, something like that now, and I think it showed on his face when you saw him lose on Shinsonyaku to Meisei. For me, when I saw that, it showed that he knew that at that age he would never have a better chance to go and win a Yusho. Yep. Listen, Terunofuji, I think, won the following match anyway. It didn't matter. It was academic. Yep. But, you always hope that a challenger in the Yusho race is going to be able to force the issue and make it Terunofuji's match to win or to lose. I don't think it'll be him in this tournament. I think it'll be somebody else. But, certainly for him. And I think if you're a fan of that style of sumo, which we've seen come out of that stable in the past, Myogiryu, Goedo, both very, very fast, lightning fast out of the Tachiai, very exciting rikishi to watch. If you're a fan of that kind of sumo, which I certainly am, it's refreshing to see someone like that in a tournament, and who knows how much longer he'll be able to keep it going. There's certainly no shortage of coaches in that stable, so there's any rush for him to retire anytime soon. So, hopefully he can keep going for a little bit more.
So let's talk about someone, we'll switch from veteran to a relative newcomer. Kiribayama, Shinsonyaku up at Komusubi West. I think it's interesting that he's there. I also think it's really interesting to see who's around him. Wakatake Kage remaining at Majishiro 1. And just below him is Takanosho and Onosho. There's some pretty decent performance going on with some of these young guys. Josh, any one of them you want to single out?
I've liked Kiribayama for a long time. Very happy for him to be in Sanyaku. A little bit of comparison between him and Hoshoryu. Obviously, it's a little lazy because they're both Mongolians, but they do have some similar techniques. A lot of those hooking, leg throws and thigh throws, a lot of, leg tripping techniques that both of them tend to use. And Hoshoryu's been a little bit more vaunted because of his pedigree and his relationship to former Yokozuna, Sashoryu, of course. But I actually don't see much different. I think if we're excited about Hoshoryu, we should be really excited about Kiribayama. Yeah. He doesn't come from a stable where there have been a lot of guys having a lot of success in the past. But he has been able to work a little bit more under the tutelage of Yokozuna Kakuryu in later years since Kakuryu moved over there, and his sumo since Kakuryu moved over there and is now transitioned into a coach. And he's someone who I thought could be Sanyaku for a long time, and I think that as we're in this sort of slightly diminished top division right now, I think he's someone who maybe won't necessarily have the best tournament this time. I don't think we need to expect him to get more than 6, 7, 8 wins, but he's someone who we should expect to see in this sort of komusubi sekiwake role in the future. So,
I kind of tried to avoid it when we set this up, but I think it's probably important that we talk about it. Ozeki. We got a pair of them, or do we? Both of them have been struggling. I mean, we know for a fact that Takakeisho has had some neurological damage. He did not turn in an amazing score. Shodai struggled for most of the last tournament. Andy, do you think that we're going to run into an Ozeki crisis soon?
I do think that there's going to be some churn there in the next year.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily imminent, but Kiribayama, he defeated Takakeisho in the last tournament, and both were just safe at 8 and 7. Neither of them have been very impressive, and like you said, the Takakeisho's injury in particular seems pretty scary, and the way that he just kind of that Ichinojo bout
yes.
Really made me kind of worry about the long term with him, and so I do think that there will be some change in that rank in the next year. It's just, I guess, who is going to fill that void?
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm not sure. There are just so many guys who seem like they want to be there, from Kiribayama, like y'all had mentioned, to Mitakeumi, who's just always been there, but then just comes up short. It just feels like there's going to be somebody finally taking advantage of the I guess the weakness in the top ranks. But it's just interesting to see a lot of these smaller wrestlers like Kiribayama and Meisei that I'm just not sure if they're actually going to have the staying power, but they don't seem to have the lingering injury issues like a Mitakeumi. So we'll see.
Josh, are we going to run into an Ozeki deficit at some point in 2022, you think?
We already have a quality deficit.
Yep.
I mean, I think Takakeishi's at least been open and honest about the fact that the performances aren't good enough. Regardless of the reason for that, he knows that 8 wins is not something that is, he should be necessarily proud of as an Ozeki. Shodai, I think has seemed to lack belief for a long time. That's not anything new. You bring up Mitakeumi, and there's a stat somewhere that somebody posted that was basically, if he had been promoted at the end of his first Ozeki run, like if he had been able to convert on that, I'm not saying that like he deserved to be promoted 28 wins or whatever, but if he had been able to make it happen in that final tournament of his very first Ozeki run, he would actually still be an Ozeki now, which kind of shows that, John Gunning's often said that Ozeki is actually the easiest rank to maintain in sport because you only need 8 wins every 2 tournaments. But, Mitakeumi's, he's only ever had back-to-back Makekoshi once in that whole run over the past several years. And the after that, he won 10 matches. So, if he had been an ozeki for the past several years, he'd still be an ozeki. And I think, there are these guys. He's obviously the most egregious example, but there are guys like him that maybe have the talent to perform at that level and who have the same matches that an ozeki would have, but just haven't been able to put it together. And the guys that have been able to put it together, the Takayasus of the world, whoever, either haven't had the form or the fitness to be able to stay at the rank. And it just, I say it a lot. I'm struggling right now with the sort of lack of overall quality in the top division. And when we're able to get that next one or two prospects to come up, I think hopefully they'll be able to move quickly into that rank, and we can start having a conversation about who the next great Rikishi is going to be. But sumo would certainly benefit from that.
Yeah, consistency. It's tough to find right now. Okay, so talking about some people who are back, we have a number of beloved names and veterans who are back. Shohozan is back in the top division at the age of 37, for heaven's sakes. He decided he's going to stick with it. This is his hometown tournament, and he's not quite the brawler that he used to be. At 37, he's slowing down a little bit, but by golly, he's going to strap on the Mawashi, and he's going to give it a go. Abi is back, in case Ichi Yamamoto wasn't enough for you. And Ryuden's back from suspension, although he's much further down the Banzuke. Andy, pick one of the returning favorites and tell us what you think.
Oh, I'm really excited to see Abi back, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that he's I don't know, his form has improved with the rest, and whereas a lot of these others like Shohozan were just kind of waiting for him to, I guess, add himself to that the long line of Danpatsuki, I guess, in waiting.
Yep.
Abi is, I think, still on his way up, and if Terunofuji was able to, I guess, have such a monumental return to the division, I think that Abi, he's not going to make it to Yokozuna, but I do think that he's a Sanyaku wrestler, and it seems like in this period of flux, he will definitely bring some interesting matchups to the division.
Okay, well, I don't know, Josh, do you think he solved his one-dimensional problem?
No, I don't think he solved his one-dimensional problem. I don't think he ever will. But like Andy, I'm excited to have him back. I'm excited to see him back. I'm a fan. The other guys, Yuden starts his rehabilitation efforts, I guess, in this tournament. He's back on the dojo. Now we're going to see a string of these guys coming back from suspension or injury or what have you, kind of mowing through the bottom divisions. In a year we'll be talking about Asanoyama. A quick word on Shohozan. This may well be the last time we see him in the top division of this tournament. The reason I say that is not just his age. I certainly slowed down when I turned 37, no question about that. Some people are saying I'm still slowing down now, but his stable master retires in January and is reported to be in not great health. There are a handful of other coaches in that stable, but two of them came over from Kataonami with the Tamawashi's stable, and there were more coaches in that stable at a certain point than there were wrestlers. I don't think that either of those guys have a connection to Nishinoseki Bea, and I think there was just one other coach in there who I think is the same age as the retiring stable master. So I have a sneaky suspicion, since Shohozan has not been connected to Akabu to this stage, that with the stable master retiring in January, he could potentially be the guy to take over a fairly prestigious stable. in the new year. So this may be the last time, or perhaps the second to the last time that we see him on the doyo, if that is to be the case. And as you say, he's not the brawler that he used to be, but if you're starting to miss some of the guys from that last generation, as I'm sure we all are, then it'll be nice to see him back in the top division at least one more time.
I do miss him and Yoshikaze beating the tar out of each other, because they were always ready to tear each other's heads off. All right, we can't avoid it any longer. We waited last tournament during a COVID Kyujo. We finally get to see the monster of Miyagi stable. It's Hokuseiho going to be a sekitori for the first time down in Juryo 12. There's a bunch of exciting stuff happening at the lower end of Juryo, but Josh, let's talk about the newest of Hakuho's prodigy to come along and probably knock some heads. What do you think's going on here?
It's cool, as you say. It's actually an exciting tournament because we have this sort of pregnant anticipation over Hokuseiho coming up to Juryo. Didn't get to see him last time because of the COVID situation, and then now there's another influx of new guys coming in at the same time. The former Terasao, who's the dude who had the rabbit remains stuck in his mawashi that got stolen. He's now up in the second division as Asanawaka, and Hirado from Sakagawa Bay. So you have a bunch now of these new guys who are going to be competing in Juryo for the first time, and headlined obviously by Hokuseiho. He's, it's one thing we've talked about this so many times on this podcast before. Like, is being big a strategy, right? And in his case, it kind of is, but he's also kind of clumsy. You know what I mean? He's like, he's like lumbering clumsy, like the sort of, it's like when you see a puppy that has like really big paws, and you're like, oh, that's gonna be some dog. You know what I mean? And with him, it's sort of like the technique hasn't quite caught up to the size, and you don't know like if he sort of is able to kind of be steady on his feet necessarily on the doyo. But he's really exciting. I mean, he's mowed his way through the bottom divisions, and this sort of like just strange recruitment strategy that Hakuho has of these like the littlest guys and the biggest guys and all kinds of body types, all different kinds of pedigrees. As you say, recruited out of an airport. Who knows where the story's going to go with Hokuseiho, but I think end up in the top division, that's for sure.
All right, Andy, comments on Hakuho's giant?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I think that he's got he reminds me of Akebono with that reach, and so
and Akebono was not a graceful fighter either.
I am hopeful that he's going to be able to get some of that Oshitsuki, like the pushing thrusting down as well, but we'll see. I mean, he's definitely rising very quickly, and he's in a great stable to learn. So
I'm really looking forward to seeing him compete in Juryo, because I mean, he's probably going to go up against Yago and Enho and all the rest of these guys, and Azumaru's a grizzled vet, so it'll be an interesting time. Really will.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's time for our always regrettable predictions, and for fans who are listening or watching this for the first time, this is where we make our predictions about the upcoming tournament, and very frequently we regret them, sometimes even before the tournament starts. And this is we're doing this almost 2 weeks before the start of the Basho, so we're sort of playing suicide akin to the way that the guys of Grand Sumo Preview do, where they would film their episodes and talk about who their favorites were, and it would show the day before the start of the tournament, and none of them were actually they were all Kyujo. So I don't know, where do we start here? Let's go for the safe choice first. Josh, I want to hear your predictions for the tournament, because I know Andy's gonna freaking land a whopper.
So I'll give you three names. The first one's the most obvious. There's no one as good as Terano Fuji at sumo right now. So there's no one as good as him. He must be the favorite. That's how it is. It also happens he's the Yokozuna. So that's nice to be able to say that Yokozuna might show up and be for once, and we could look forward to that. Yep. Two other names. The first one we haven't spoken about is Hokuto Fuji, who got punted way down. Banzuke was Kyujo. Some may say that he was very unfortunate to land it with Magashira 12 or whatever it is.
They gave him a big drop.
Yeah, and only 2 wins last time out before he dropped out. And sort of as we saw with Myogiryu last time, if you're someone who's of a decent degree, Hokuto Fuji has been just hanging around the top of the Magashira ranks, Komusubi, for the last several years now at this point. If he's fit, should be able to be in the conversation for Sancho, for honors, at that level of the Banzuke. When you think about who he's going to be coming up against. The last name I'm going to throw in there, a little bit cheeky, but I think after a few poor tournaments, I think Tobizaru's he's got a new CD out. Listen, he's got a new CD out, and I think all of the attention on him and his sumo song, and I think it's going to re-energize him.
Zaru.
And we could be in for 10 wins.
Okay.
We could be at 10 wins.
So, Andy, you're going last this time because you're going to be so much fun. I'm sure of it. So I'll go next. Josh, I think you're dead on. And I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the future looks really flat to me right now. So it's going to be the repetition of a very familiar theme. If Terunofuji is healthy, it's Terunofuji Yusho until we get sick of it until his knees blow up. I'm impressed, but the guy has some kind of PR campaign going that's been nonstop. I mean, like interviews and TV shows, and they're always showing him in the best possible light. For a guy who was on the down and out not that long ago, man, his act is together. Is that his wife? I don't know, but whoever is doing it, freaking brilliant. I have to say, I really liked Takayasu in the joint practice. He absolutely punished people during the joint practice. Now, this is not uncommon for Takayasu, and I will admit I'm a Takayasu fan, but I would love to see him at least get back to the Sanyaku ranks. But now it's time for everyone to take a big gulp of sake or whatever. I actually think that Shodai is going to do well this tournament. He's due. He's not entirely a sock puppet. The guy has a huge body, and when he is on his sumo, that sort of wall of daikon attack strategy can be pretty unbeatable. But I definitely think I'm with you, Josh, on the Terunofuji Yusho. All right, Andy, let's have it.
All right. Ichinojo starts his ozeki run with a Yusho.
That's a lot of ozeki.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think he's got his Japanese citizenship now. Yeah. He's going to he's going long term with this career in sumo. It's not going to be just his active career. He's going to be an oyakata. But I think he's going to make it to Yokozuna one day. So.
Oh my goodness. We'll see. Is he going to have some kind of like ice cream sponsorship going on with that? Because I could see that happening.
I think he might start up his own brand of pony tossing ice cream or something like that.
I would go to Japan and buy that as soon as they let foreigners back in the country. And with that, we are going to say thank you and so long. And I hope you all have enjoyed your time with us as much as we've enjoyed putting this on. We look forward to the tournament here in just a little bit under 2 weeks. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Josh. Thank you for watching this far. And remember, for sumo, it's Tachiai.